I lost both my parents at a very early age. Promised myself that if I make it and graduate through college, I want to go back to my village and build a school and have many more kids have the opportunity to study. No matter the circumstances in the natural, the vision and the spark in me, the motivation was strong to a point that couldn't be stopped.
This episode is brought to you by the Arts Council for Monterey County. What makes life feel real? It's expressing yourself, finding your people, and using art to heal, grow, and be heard. The Arts Council for Monterey County, Arts4MC, believes the arts benefit everyone. They bring art into schools, community centers, and public spaces, and support students with scholarships, workshops, and programs like Poetry Out Loud and Youth Poet Laureate. Whether you're an artist or just looking to be inspired, your journey starts here. Learn more at arts4mc.org. That's arts, the number 4, mc.org. And remember, they're also proud sponsors of this podcast. So thank you to the Arts Council for Monterey County. What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to Offline Xpression. My name is Jeff Hinderscheid. I am your host. And guess what? We're back. Today I am not joined by our amazing youth ambassador and co-host Victoria Jones. Unfortunately, she had to go to school. Well, I guess not unfortunately, but don't worry everybody. As always, we are joined by some incredible guests. We have Rob Cullen in the house. Rob, you will know from a recent episode where we had Rob and his daughter Vivian on the show talking about their recent trip to Uganda. Say hello to the people, Rob.
Well, hello there. And I recently re-listened to that version just to get some inspiration for today.
Excellent. I love that. You know, anytime we can have somebody re-listen, we love that. And we're also joined by Valence, who actually you heard a lot about in that episode because they were visiting Valence and he hosted them and a lot of the Rotarians when they were there in Uganda. Say hello to the people, Valence. And also, please forgive me. I didn't even try to pronounce your last name because I don't want to mess it up. So why don't you say it?
Thank you so much. Glad to be here. My name is Valence Rutaisire from Uganda.
Excellent. All right. So, yeah, I think I might have got it. I think I psyched myself out a little bit. It happens.
Okay.
But how are you guys doing today?
Doing great. I'm happy to be here. Personally, visiting here in California from Uganda. I'm really, really excited and I'm enjoying every bit of it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, and my heart is big because I got to spend some time in Valence's home in Uganda. And now to have him here and hosting him here and showing him around our great community. It's a fun thing.
Yeah, absolutely. How long are you staying?
Yeah, I'll be staying in the Kingston area for about 2 weeks and then go downward to San Luis Obispo for another week, and then I'll be able to go back home on the 14th.
So 3 full weeks in California.
Sure.
How long have you been here already?
About a week now.
About a week. Okay, so we're a third of the way through. What are some of the things that you have done so far while you've been here?
Well, being able to speak to a couple of Rotary clubs and interact clubs in the area here, in your county here. Speaking about my work and what I'm doing, I got a lot of reception and people have been interested to hear my story to the people I've spoken to.
Excellent. And Rob, are you hosting Valence?
Yeah, so we're all kind of taking turns. As a reminder, when we were in Uganda, there was 8 Rotarians and 4 interactors, which is the high school equivalent. So we've all been taking turns hosting Valence, and I've had the pleasure of spending the day yesterday with him, today, and tomorrow.
Excellent. I'm so excited about that. Are you going to get to do anything like fun? I mean, obviously everything's fun. Don't hear what I'm not saying, but you know, going and presenting at Rotary clubs is great. That's part of the mission and the work that you do. But are you going to go do something cool and like touristy, go visit any cool places like that?
Sure. Actually, I already did some. I went bowling for the first time. That was fun.
Nice.
Yeah, a couple of days ago, I went bowling and I enjoyed the experience. And yeah,
That's fun. Did you go to Salinas?
no, actually, I went in the Monterey Bay area.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Is that the one down probably by Cannery Row? I would assume, but
Yeah, I'm
I
not so
wasn't
sure.
there, but I heard he was really good at bowling. So
oh no way.
first
Oh,
timers luck. We'll chalk it up to that maybe.
yeah, well that means you're just gonna have to go bowling again before you leave.
Probably, yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, well, you know what? Let me know when that happens because I love to be terrible at bowling. I love to embarrass myself in front of people, so that's what I do best. Well, okay, so Valence, let's get right into the thick of things. So your story is inspiring and hopeful. And in a lot of ways, I think in this day and age, what we do on this podcast is we try to give accessibility to the understanding and education about how different the world is with the digital mark that's been made. But one of the things that really stood out to me about Rob and Vivian's story about their trip was how wildly different it was in terms of digital connection versus personal connection that is face to face and interactive that includes the arts and social stuff. And I think that everything about that episode, I've listened to it about 3 times now myself, just because it's fascinating and it's a humbling story. So without, me telling people what it is, I would love to hear a little bit about what you do now, okay, with Rotary and with the different foundations that you've started in schools and such. And then we'll go back and take a little trip down memory lane and talk about what got you there. How's that sound?
That sounds great. Yeah, I run the Youth Focus Africa Foundation in Uganda that comprises of primarily the Women Empowerment Program and the schools. So right now we have 4 schools on 3 campuses in different locations that are real spread by location in the villages that we focus on. The first school is run in my home village where I was born and raised. That's the Hopeland Junior School, Kitola. And then we have the Hopeland Junior School, Naja, which is on one property, about 8 acres. And then on that property, we have the junior, what you'd call elementary school, and then the high school, that going all the way to 12th grade. And then we have another campus that we have a kindergarten. And all that combined brings to about 1,500 children that we are serving and reaching out to. And on that, we also have the Women Empowerment Program, where we teach the mothers of these children and the women, the teenage mothers in the community skills. That's where they do things, handcraft, beads, they do sewing, we try to teach them better birth control practices in their groups. And then we've also instituted them into village saving schemes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So that's
Wow.
basically what I'm doing currently. Yeah.
So just a couple things. That is amazing. All right. So, when you were talking about the schools and women's empowerment and teaching skills, you mentioned beads and sewing and things of this nature. Is that a way for them to kind of make money or go out and start a profession or just to keep the home going kind of a thing?
Yeah, actually, it's a combination of quite a bit of things, but primarily is to give them the ability to be able to meet their day-to-day needs. As you may realize, the women we serve don't have any formal qualification in terms of skill set that can set them apart to provide for themselves. But they have really to. So we are starting from scratch, trying to cause them understand. They have kids. On average, each woman has about 7 children.
Okay.
So
they need to know this stuff.
yes, they have to get the skills. That way they can put food on their table. And what we've done at the Empowerment Center, because we designed our program in the sense that we have a school, but on the school we have an empowerment center that empowers the women in skills, beads, sewing such that we sell them. So we find market both locally in the country, in the big cities, and also internationally. Internationally, that's where people have come to be a part of what we are doing, have been able to bring some of these products to the US to sell them, and then the funds go back to the women.
That is excellent.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's so much, that's hands-on skill.
Exactly.
Economic skill. There's a lot of work that goes into that. So.
Absolutely.
And I'll add one more because it's a neat symbolism. And Valence brought a number of the beautiful necklaces that people can buy. And it's really neat that we can buy something here, but we're reaching through all the way to Uganda and directly helping someone in Uganda.
Right.
Pretty neat to be able to do that.
Exactly.
That is neat. And, as long as I can remember, since I was a kid, there's always been maybe ads, things that have explained how you can support people in other places. And, I think there was a mentality maybe once upon a time that, well, I don't know exactly where my money goes. And so people were really kind of nervous about that kind of thing, because back then you had to write a check and put it in the mail usually. So now that we can directly help people by using some sort of, this is one of the benefits to the world of technology, right? We can actually get in there and make a change and do something for people. So we definitely will be sharing a lot of that information to get as much support as we can. But so you said that, you've got schools, right? So how many schools do you go to, work at? How many have you founded on the educational level? What does that look like?
Yes, that's a good question. I founded 4 schools.
Wow.
And started from one school in one location. And the desire was to go back to my village to start a school. Started a school in a very small room, maybe 25 by 25 feet. I don't know how it could be equated here, but it was very small. And then I offered myself to be a volunteer teacher and then try to teach the children and also inspire the women, the mothers of these children. It's important for their children to get an education. So from that one campus, we kept on growing. We kept on adding each class each day because technically we didn't have the funds to have an established school.
Right.
So we added each class each day, each year. And then, about 500 kids in that school went to another campus and then another campus. So I practically work in 4 schools.
Wow. So wait, when you started the first one, 25 by 25 feet, how many students were in that room?
It's about a little over 100.
In that space?
In that space, spread according to, if a couple of kids in one corner and in that type of thing.
Did you have any help? Were there other volunteer teachers or was it just you?
Yes, there are some other volunteer teachers that came alongside to start the process, and then the numbers outgrew our capacity, and that needed us to actually start thinking of building permanent buildings. So if you want, around that time, then we started trying to find ways. And part of the process that enabled us was for me, I came to the US and then we started getting volunteer teams that would go and lay brick. In 2 weeks, we build we would get 25 students from high school and then colleges in North Carolina. So they would come every summer, have 2 or 3 groups come, lay brick, and then, with the other people or local people, and then the classes started growing. So in about 8 years in a row, we had big teams come to Uganda to lay brick.
Wow. I have so many questions. So my first question, and Rob, you might know a little bit about this too, having traveled, but are you able to just do this because you want to do this? Or what kind of red tape, if you will, what kind of filed forms and government type of permissions, how long are we talking for you to have the concept and then have a school? Either one of you. I'm just curious because I know that when you guys went, there was a lot of stuff you had to do in order just to go. So I imagine to do something like found a school took some political stuff.
I'll get you. Yeah, that on the part of founding a school, I think I'll step in and explain. Then maybe Rob will talk about them preparing and getting to Uganda. So in Uganda, it's not a problem because the need is huge.
Mm.
You find that ideally in every what you'd call a cell, the lowest structure. Out of the lowest structure, you have about maybe 4 villages or 5 villages that will form the second structure.
Mm.
Practically speaking, every structure, government-wise, should have a school, a public school.
Okay.
But the government cannot afford to have schools in all those structures. So finding a school in whatever circumstance it is in, you are responding to a need.
I see.
And no one will question what you are doing. As long as you are willing to provide leadership and have it established, the local government is happy. Because you are practically trying to live, you're responding to a need that they would actually be responding to.
Right. So they're like, you're going to do it?
Do it.
Go do it. Yeah.
Exactly. And there are no standardized system. There's no standard that you have to have a class that is well equipped with a science lab, that is, a school that is well painted and everything. As long as kids can have where to sit and write, and somebody has a space to give instruction, that can in itself be called a school.
Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So it was earlier this year that I had the pleasure of going to Uganda with my daughter and a group of Rotarians and interactors. But prior to that, I had met Valence a couple of times here in the United States on some past visits and also virtually via Zoom. And one of the things that struck me was here we've heard him talk about these things in such a humble way.
Right.
All these massive things that he's done. And I'm amazed as I've heard, Valence, your story and where you kind of created this passion within yourself. Would you mind sharing your story, your upbringing, and what led to you to what you're doing today?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, my story is when I look back, I'm very grateful that I am doing what I'm doing because I was inspired to go back to my village because I lost both my parents at a very early age when I was very young. And then through educational scholarship, what you'd call a sponsorship, I was able to be supported by an individual that supported me to be able go to school. That means they sent money, and that money was paid to the school, and I was able to be allowed to be in school because in Uganda, you have to pay to be in school. So many years ago, someone did that for me, and I promised myself that if I make it and graduate through college, I want to go back to my village and build a school and have many more kids have the opportunity to study.
Wow.
So that stayed with me until I graduated. When I graduated, I said, I have to do it. Because at that point, the passion and the vision had strongly formed on my heart that I was, at that point in my life, that I was unstoppable. No matter the circumstances in the natural, the vision and the spark in me, the motivation was strong to a point that couldn't be stopped. So, as I said earlier on, I started from a small building, and then I was one of the first volunteer teachers and a couple of people who are not actually teachers, but as long as they can start the instructions, they can instruct the kids, then they could do it. So that's how I started, and over the years, that motivation has stayed with me, and from one campus to another campus, and then another campus, 3 campuses, and I'm at a point now that we, 1,500 children, that we can consolidate that number we have and give them the best education experience they can ever have. So that's kind of our next steps right now.
Wow, you're right, Rob. It is very humble to be doing so much just because. I mean, essentially, and you said a couple things there that really resonate with me. One is once the vision takes hold and you're so passionate about it, you cannot be stopped. You have to do it.
Absolutely.
And must be done. And I respect that a lot. So if you don't mind, I want to kind of step back to this. You said that you lost your parents at a very young age. What happens to a child when they lose parents in Uganda? Does somebody just take you in? Are there orphanages? What was that process for you?
Yeah, thank you. That's very interesting. What happens when you lose your parents? There are many circumstances depending on where you are at. One would be if you lost your parent, in most cases, the dads who die first.
Okay.
So if your dad dies or your mom dies, whatever it is, then the next immediate family will take you in, and then you stay with them. And then if both die, then Uganda, there's an extended family system that can not give you the material stuff, like, they'll not be responsible for your education, but they'll give you shelter and the food, because food is cultivated, and then you all share what is there. But beyond eating and sleeping, however you sleep, there's more to life than eating and sleeping. And because of there's a generational poverty cycle, there's no motivation among the people around you or relative that will say, look, we have to look into the future of this kid. He has to go to school. He has to get medical care. He has to, to sleep well. He has to thrive practically. So that in itself, that on the most families in Uganda, that is not given a lot of thought.
It's day by day. Survive this day and get to the next one.
Survive each day.
Understood.
So for me, looking at that, that's why I wanted to kill that generational cycle. And I said, if I've gone out of this, I need to go back to my village and bring real change. And as we go on, I'll give testimonies of what I can attest to, what that has brought in my villages.
Wow. I mean, the word thrive just pops out of that story so clearly, because when I teach, I talk a lot about Western cultures that are individualist, and then there's Eastern cultures that are collectivist, and it's about doing the best you can for the group, honoring a family in the group. And then there's so many in-betweens of this, right? But it's so interesting to me to think that, when there isn't a system and the mentality and the motivation isn't necessarily on thriving, it's just about surviving, there's this really interesting instinctual thing that takes over. It's survival skills, it's self-preservation, it's how can I get by today? And that is a hard place to live all the time.
You know what? One of the things that reminds me, if we go back to education, is going beyond that surviving and then thriving, is what we learned there when we visited, that there is an initiative to provide more education that's related to science, technology, teaching, some of those areas. And I know that there's an effort to build a science classroom. I imagine that's related to that, and trying to build up education as a way to move out of poverty. Can you comment or elaborate on that?
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, what you're saying is the survival system is huge, where people are just surviving instead of thriving.
Right.
And what we are trying to do right now is that we want to put up an educational experience that will cause every kid to thrive, not to survive. And in that case, we are starting on an ambitious project to have our science lab equipped state-of-the-art science lab, because these kids have big dreams. Some of them want to be pilots, others want to be engineers. And when I move here in the US and I see the facilities, the other day I was at the York School, and then you see the science lab. It's a state-of-the-art science lab, and these kids have all the facilities. And these kids have the brains to be anything they can be. So what we're trying to do is we want to put up a state-of-the-art science lab and a computer lab to see that these kids can advance into sciences, but also tap into the digital world. Because that's where the world is going. They tap into the digital world, learn the computer skills, and then in the end, they'll be able to thrive, not to survive.
100%. I feel like there's a catchphrase there. I don't know if that's something that you say often, but survive to thrive. Like there's something interesting about that really strikes a nerve, right? It's like, oh, I love that. That sparks passion in others too, you know? And, you know, one of the things that you said when you went back to your village, I have to do this. I feel like it's kind of one of those situations where if you are given the chance, all you need is a chance. And if you had an opportunity and a chance, what can you do with it? And that is, you're going back and giving children their chance and their opportunity. And it sounds like they are just taking it for what it is. And I feel like sometimes here in the United States, we've been oversaturated with an opportunity to where there's this weird apathy about, well, I could do anything, yeah, but I don't really want to do anything. And it's got to be frustrating. It just has to be. I mean, I know that Rob and Vivian talked a lot about how happy the people were when they went, when they have so much less in so many situations. And, you know, the measurement of joy and happiness with that, I mean, that has to just be sometimes when you see these state-of-the-art classrooms and all this stuff. How do we get that, right?
Well, let's keep in mind, too, that kids have dreams.
Right.
It doesn't matter what country they're from, what their circumstances are. Kids have dreams. And I was reminded of an interaction that I had with a student at one of the schools, and we would ask them what they wanted to be when they grew up. And it was amazing to hear attorney, teacher, scientist, doctor, those sorts of things. But one boy had said that he wanted to be a pilot. And I asked him why. And essentially he said that every day he sees airplanes flying way up above him. And he wanted to learn more about airplanes, which led to him wanting to know where those airplanes were going. And here's an individual that wants to open up his own world just by thinking about where these airplanes go all over the world. And wants to be a pilot. That's a dream.
Yeah, 100%.
They need the chance, they need the resources, they need the guidance and assistance to fulfill their dreams, just like any child anywhere else in the world who has those same or similar dreams.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, you just talked about the kids wanting those opportunities. I think in Uganda, the idea, the thoughts about a good life, especially among the young kids, is so huge that circumstances stop them to achieve. So in Uganda, when a kid gets an opportunity, they hold it in high regard. Say it's an education or anything. There's no, I want to do it. I don't know whether I want to do it. There's nothing such as that. So the kids, that's like a miracle coming. So really, I think the children in Uganda have what takes. They just need the opportunities.
Yep.
Or the resources.
Yeah, and you're giving them that chance. I mean, to have your first school, the 100 people and volunteer instructors in a room, essentially, just a room. And that in and of itself was a chance. And when you know that you're receiving that opportunity and it might not come again, to latch on to it and, like Rob said, have those dreams, start working towards them. It's not just, how am I going to eat today? Where am I going to sleep today? and maybe I can set something up for tomorrow, but that's about, what can I do to be a pilot? How can I get to there? What's that path look like? And so it opens these roads that many would just never have. They just wouldn't. And so that's that is big work, man. That is super big stuff. So what happened when you started becoming a little bit more successful at this as the growth happened? I know that you said, you started having way more students, so you needed to grow and have bigger facilities or rooms or multiple campuses. But I imagine the local people were taking notice of this pretty quickly. Was there an outpouring of support? Were there people that wanted to be a part of it? Were there people that just said, well, good luck, I'm just surviving? Like, how did that start to move?
Yeah, that's very interesting. What happened? Let's talk about our first campus. We started our first campus, literally small, in a small room. And then we started getting teams come and started building schools, started building the school as people came to lay brick. And what happened? One thing led to another. Then let me talk about our second campus. Actually, around the same time, we handled the schools almost around the same time. So when in a year or two, when the first school started growing, there was a community landlord. He heard about what we are doing. We never bought that land. He came and told me. So we went there for an outreach to talk to the women about the value of education, because that's what we could do. And then the landlord told me, I've heard about what you are doing in the other community. Would you want to come in this community and do it? I said, sure, we would love to do it, but we don't have land. He said, I'll give you 8 acres if you do it. Just like that, in a meeting. And then I thought he was joking. Then later on he called me, said, are you still interested in the land? Who would refuse land? I said, yes, we'll take the land.
Yeah.
So anyway, again, we started in the same way. We started on the other campus. We didn't have a structured budget in terms of money. So what I did, the women we were talking with, I said, the opportunities come. Can you come volunteer your time? And we clear space. And then we put temporary structures. Do the bathroom, because we had to do the bathroom. We have to do pit latrine.
Right.
So we did the bathroom, and then they volunteered their labor. And then we have some of those pictures. Steve Adams has visited in that when we were still in that state. So that was our second campus. Our second campus didn't start in a very, very structured manner. It started as a response to another need. If you get me right.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
so it wasn't like, planning. So there was response. Then the third campus, somebody had a school and he had failed to run the school. He said, look, Valence, I hear you doing very successfully with the schools. Can you take over this school? So we responded to that need and took over the school.
That's amazing.
So that's how it has been. So the free campuses have come as a response to the needs.
Right.
Or because of what we started with in my first village.
Yeah. And, who'd refuse land, as you said, it's interesting because, not everybody can do what you do, but they want to do something. They want to help in some way, right? So it's amazing that those who could give land, I have this, I can do that. And that's huge, right? Because that's going to be a legacy for that person, because now how many generations are going to get to take advantage of that generosity? Mm-hmm. And then you and the people that you were working with, you're, in the trenches. We're going to do the work. We'll get in there and we'll make it happen. And then another need pops up. Now, the interesting thing is, and you know this for sure, because that's why you have the vision you have, the need is never going to stop. There will always be more need. And the most that we can do, we will do it, period. And so now that you have this network and people know, hey, you know what, there's somebody who might be able to help with this because they've already done it before. That experience and your connections to others and Rotary, that is not something you learn in school. that is something you have to go and get. And that is a really priceless lesson, because all those kids that you are working with right now, they're not just getting the education, they're not just getting their chance, they're also getting a powerful example of how to do things and how to be a helper and go out there and, they have a great male role model in you.
Exactly.
All the time, every day. And the women as well, of course. They get to say, somebody that there's oftentimes in this sad world, women who are only surrounded by men that want something from them. And it's always, always amazing and should never be underestimated how important it is to be able to have a relationship with somebody where you want nothing from them. I just want to help and give you something. And it sounds like you're doing that every day with hundreds of people.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Exactly. And speaking about that, I think the community aspect in Uganda helps in many aspects. Where people come to say, okay, I told you about this land we got. The community members saying, this is our community that somebody has donated land for our kids to be in school, and then because they can't afford school, there's no school around, they take it as their own. That's why initially we had to have people in the community volunteer. And then to this day, the gentleman that donated that land, 8 acres, a big parcel of land, he's held in high regard for what he did. He was a generous landlord. And now look, on that campus, about 800 children are on that campus. And, as you said, it's a generational impact. So,
yeah, it's 800 today, and then 800 more, and 800 more, and 800 more. And
exactly.
And I think not just that, but it creates some sustainability. So if you have those youth go through that education, once they become better educated, stay in the communities, and then teach others, then the cycle continues, and then they reach out to the next generation. Because that's one of the things that comes to my mind, is ensuring that there's some sustainability and that things come full circle. Look at what Valence did. He was sponsored, and now he is a mechanism that allows for other kids to survive and thrive.
And become sponsored.
And on the other side of things, and he mentioned the women's empowerment. And so by training them on how to make certain things, helping them bring it to market, that's another thing that becomes sustainable, because they learn those skills. This is not a handout.
No.
It's a help up.
Right, yeah, because you know the saying, right? You give a man a fish, he eats for a day. You teach a man to fish, he eats for the rest of his life. And so teaching those skills, just like you said, they go and do it. And the best part is there's a really high likelihood that they can teach someone else. And that kind of goodness spreads. Wow. Well, we're going to take a little break for a second here, but don't go away. We will be right back. What's up, all you expressionists out there? Do you need reliable IT support and more for your business? SPJR Computer Consulting delivers comprehensive solutions tailored to small and medium-sized businesses. From seamless technical support to professional website design and effective online advertising, we keep your budget in mind. Don't miss out. Visit spjrsolutions.com today. That's spjrsolutions.com. Your business deserves the best. All right. Well, so here's the deal. Now that I'm, emotionally impacted to the max, let's take it the next step. So how did you go from doing things on your local area and the schools and the women's, helping them with skills and all the empowerment? I love that word, by the way. Empowerment is one of my favorite words. How did you get from that to the world of Rotary? Was it a part of it along the way, or did you find out about it through someone else and then decide to just start reaching out until, like, what happened? How did those two merge?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. What happened was, in the early years of my work, what happened was I came in contact with somebody who came actually to volunteer and be a part and, practically give some help on ground in Uganda. And then when she came to Uganda, she was very, very inspired of what I was doing. And she said, I want to make you come to America. That way you can bring other people, you can share your story, because my story was so inspiring to her. And she said, we want to bring you to the US such that people can see you, can hear and see you, and in one or the other help.
Right.
So that was in 2007. That's when I made my first trip here in the US. And when I came, I stayed in her house, and she took me to Rotary clubs. And when I shared my story, the Rotary clubs in this area were very, very interested in what I was doing. And on that trip, actually, they said, where can we help? Where can we help? And one of the great things that I want to commend Americans here is that the urgency to respond to need is commendable. Americans will respond to a need no matter how it is, and that is a good spirit. That's something that I also learned from here that I continue to do. So anyhow, what happened on that trip, they said, what can we do? So from one club to another, they said, we didn't have a well at that time. They did us a well, they did the solars, they did the desks, and then, they started sponsoring children, because practically for us to run the school, we needed the finances.
Mm-hmm.
So people signed up to sponsor children, and then others gave us money for the wells and all that type of stuff. So that's how I started being introduced to the world of Rotary.
That's pretty amazing. I mean, it sounds like all the Rotarians I know, I agree with you. Sometimes we can get so bogged down with the day-to-day stuff, and someone will remind you just how generosity can flow through, and they can stun you. They can really do that. And what a wonderful thing to hear somebody say, how can we help? It's like, that's the $1 million question, if you will, right? It's like, oh my gosh, there's so many ways. There's so many ways you can help. So a well and all these different things that are going to be functional to help everyone, those are huge deals. So tell me, you have a Rotary Club where you are, yes?
Yes, actually from that time, I'm a member of a Rotary Club in Lugazin, and I serve there as well.
Excellent. And so how did the trip this last summer, how did that first come about? I know that Rob had told us a little bit about it, but refresh our memory about how this trip started and went.
Yeah, actually, over the years, I've been coming and trying to interest people to come and see, and it's until when people see, touch, feel, then maybe it becomes a reality. So it's one thing to hear stories here in America, like I'm here speaking about what I'm doing, but also another thing when you come and see, touch, feel.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are two different. Rob here will tell you, we've been friends for some time, but the moment he came to Uganda, I think that in a way changed his perspective on the stories I was sharing on the slides, but he was there practically. So anyhow, that in itself speaks volumes about our work. So over the years, people have come and have been part of what we are doing, and they have supported in one way or the other.
I love Valence, how you said a minute ago, see, touch, and feel.
Yeah.
I know we're on a podcast, but if you could see a video, I have tears in my eyes, because that see, touch, feel. You're right. I've heard Valence speak a number of times. First met him about 10 years ago, was inspired, like hopefully the listeners are inspired.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I had the opportunity to go, I jumped at the chance. See, touch, feel. It brings me back. First you see the kids and you see the happiness, you see the enthusiasm, you also see the poverty, you see, for those that are not in the schools and not sponsored because they have uniforms, the ones that are not sponsored, not in school, you see the way that they dress because they don't have much money.
You see the need.
You see, touch. Man, the second we got to the school, they wanted to hold our hands and walk with us, and sometimes wanted to see the color of my skin and compare it to theirs. That's the touch.
Mm-hmm.
also later on, the hugs,
Mm-hmm.
the touch. So see, touch, feel, and the feel you could define in a whole bunch of ways.
Oh, yeah.
But I could just say we had all the feels
Uh-huh.
like that.
I mean, just going there and seeing it and everything, of course, that's going to be impactful. But the incredible story, you can feel that. And I can't even imagine how much higher that level of feel is. Because one of the things that you told us in your story, in your interview with Vivian and me and Victoria, was that, here you are going there for this work that you're going to do. You see, you touch, you feel, and they gave you gifts. And that was like so special and important to hear about, because gift giving, as we know, we're coming up on holiday season again, it can get really tricky with people. But the real joy comes from the giving. And so there's just an amazing amount of love that comes out of that, that you had talked about. So, and the dancing, just all the celebration and the warm welcome. A warm welcome, it seems so trite when you say it like that, but when you're there to do something and you see, touch, and feel all those things you just listed a minute ago, and then you're humbled by being given stuff when you're there, I can't imagine how that must have felt.
Extremely complex of receiving. I mean, almost some amount of shame
Mm-hmm.
when you have someone who has almost nothing presenting you with a gift.
Guilt.
Like it just seemed like it needed to be the reverse. So
Right.
there was an amount of shame, but also I know I needed to show respect because I knew how thankful they were that we were there, and they were showing that thankfulness and that respect
Right.
for giving us a gift. So I wanted to respect that relationship and what they were trying to do. The other, going along with see, touch, feel. So for a couple years prior to our trip, my family did sponsor, and we continue to sponsor a child there. Her name is Abigail. And we've exchanged letters. We exchanged several letters a year, pictures. I can tell you about her family, and she could tell her family about my family. See, touch, feel. To go and see her for the first time, for it to move from a photograph to seeing her in person and to hug her. Man, that was an amazing moment to be able to do. And that child sponsorship, I just love that. And these kids who have nothing and they need that help, they need those resources. Sponsoring a child, that's $450 a year, and that covers all of their costs for being in school. Just absolutely amazing that
Wow.
the small dollar amount that we can reach our hearts all the way to Uganda and help them. And that's a wonderful thing in and of itself.
Right.
But for those that are interested in going to Uganda, we are in the early stages of organizing another trip. So there are opportunities to go there and to help out. When we went, we visited a couple schools. We also put some finishing touches on a home that we had raised money for. And then as a, well, that was a reward in and of itself. But the other reward is we got to go on a safari, which was just super awesome to see all the animals there.
Oh, yeah, I bet that was so cool. So first of all, you reminded me of a story when you were talking. I remember the first time I went to New York. We're in California. We're on the West Coast. And anybody that you talk to knows where they were, what they were doing on 9/11. And when I went to New York for the first time, I decided to go and check out Ground Zero and go see the memorial down there. And it was shattering. It was seeing for real, right there, being in that space. You could literally feel the weight of an event that had happened and the history of it, and seeing the pictures and the museums, and like even just standing there. It's not happening right that minute, but you are absolutely right, Valence. To go there, to actually go there, is a whole other thing.
All right.
I think it's a beautiful thing. And I think that I can tell you firsthand, the kids that went, the Interact kids, man, talk about humility. When they presented at Rotary, when they got back, it was, they couldn't get through it. They literally couldn't get through it. They were so emotional that they were just And I think that kind of an experience for a young person is critical,
Yeah.
especially now more than ever, because we get caught up in things that literally do not matter. They don't. And most of the time is spent on things that do not matter. And so a perspective shift like that can really, it can alter the path of someone's life in such a beautiful way.
Absolutely.
So you're not just touching on the people there.
Yeah.
You're impacting people here.
Absolutely. Yeah. And one of the things that we are trying to kind of navigate is to make this possible, because you are touching, the people come, they're impacted, but the people they meet, they are inspired.
Mm-hmm.
When one of the other interesting thing was the kids to see, like the Interact students that came, they're the same age when they talked of their age, but then you would see the other ones motivated because the kids that came, the students that came, they were in the different space in terms of technology advancement. They just feel like, oh, he's the same age like me. What am I up to? You know what I mean?
Right.
Can I pull up my socks? They feel like they are something.
Yes.
As opposed to what the situation and the circumstances tell them. So in a lot of ways, it's a win-win situation. So we have, actually speaking about this, we have a volunteer center we've built that can accommodate up to 15 people. So we want to have conversations on how we can have more people come to touch, feel, and see. So going forward. So, yeah.
I left that meeting going, I'm going. I'm coming. I told you.
I was going to bring that up, Jeff. I was going to see if you wanted to renew your commitment.
I know. And when is this happening again? It's at least, what, is a year out?
Yeah, so we're looking at doing a trip in 2027. It'll be April of 2027. There's a lot of planning that goes into the entire process.
Oh, I imagine.
A lot of planning. And so we need some time to ramp up to be able to do that. And I know some people may be listening and may be interested in going. They may also be interested in helping support things financially, to be a part of helping bring that science building to fruition. I mean, what a cool thing. Or sponsoring a child and exchanging letters.
Oh, I'm definitely going to do that. And you know what? And this is humbling for me because I forgot. I got caught up in my life, and I had told you that day I was going to do that, and then I just didn't. And that I feel guilty about that, but I could say it out loud because that is the human experience right there. We get caught up in other things, but that is so easy. It's so easy to do. $450 a year to help a child that can go to school and do things. Absolutely. That is a no-brainer.
Thank you.
That's 100% a no-brainer, and everybody should be doing that anyway. So trust me when I say we're going to put that everywhere. We're going to make sure that we have that access because I told Rob I would, and I didn't, and I'm gonna, okay?
Thank you.
But 2027, that's not far away, but it is. It's plenty of time to figure things out and see if how it can happen. If I can't go on the trip, that'll be a logistical thing. But sponsoring a child, I mean, come on, that's a no-brainer. So
thank you.
And you're the current Rotary president, Rob. So you've got other big irons in the fire right now with the Centennial and all these things, right?
Yeah, our King City Rotary Club. I've been a member for 18 years now, and I love Rotary in general, first and foremost. And I'll remind folks that didn't listen to the other episode, is Rotary is represented in more countries than at the UN. And so our reach, whether there's a disaster response or an ongoing need like we're talking about, I love what Rotary does internationally. It's a great organization, service club, and our King City Rotary Club, March of next year, so March of 2026, we will be celebrating our 100th anniversary, our centennial, and we've got some events that we have planned to celebrate, and also to do some gifts to the community. So stay tuned on that as well. So yes, lots of irons in the fire.
Yeah, that's wild, man. I mean, and so that's what's even more amazing about that is here you are. This trip happened, and you were the incoming president. And by the time you go again, you won't be the president, but you're still doing all these things proactively. It reminds me of theater. You're either in pre-production, production, or post-production at any given moment. So the calendar year can fly by so fast. So getting people on board for that is amazing. And so Valence, you said you have a a volunteer center that can hold up to 15 people?
Up to 15 people, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
Tell me that thing's full all the time.
Yeah, we get about 2 or 3 teams a year. And
Oh.
then mostly in the summer, they're spread out because of our connection here in the States, on the East Coast, here on the West Coast. So people will come not at the same time, but medical teams will come, we'll have construction team will come. People want to be with the children, to
Mhm.
volunteer with the children will come. So it's all spread out. We work it in a way that it is spread out, that way there's no crashing.
Oh, of course.
And you have a medical team coming soon, don't you?
Yes, we have a medical team coming. What happens when these medical teams come, they go and do mobile clinics in the communities for people that would walk about 10 miles to go to hospital, 5 miles. So we bring the clinic, we bring the medical personnel in the community. So we'll go in a school and then put up a dental center, we put up a triage, we do the providers, and then people, and they come with the medicines. And then, it feels some people have dental issues that they'll postpone the problem. They have to get a tooth fixed, and then they'll postpone the problem back and forth. But when we go where they are, makes a big difference.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because you can't postpone it. We're standing right here.
Exactly.
Right? We got to get this done. And they're just living in pain, most likely.
Exactly. So when we do these medical teams, when these medical teams come, they respond to these needs. So next year we'll have a medical team come.
Excellent. Well, I have a question for you, and this is for both of you, really. But we've talked about physically going, to be a part of it. We've talked about sponsoring children. What else could people do? Like, what kind of equipment and materials, and is there a way for people to go, you know what, I can't go, and I don't know that I can sponsor a child right now, but I could buy pencils, markers, and backpacks for 5 kids or something like that. Is there a way for people to do this sort of a thing? And if so, how?
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, we can. There's a lot of ways that you can support us. One, by donating materials, but we request that here, because of the economy, donating financially goes a long way. The money you'd spend to buy pencils and pens would go a long way back home in Uganda if you sent the money.
Understood.
To buy stuff back home. The economies are not the same, so it goes a long way in terms of impact than sending stuff this way. So that is one option. You can donate towards backpacks. About $20 actually can buy a backpack for a kid. And how you do this, we have a website. You can go on www.friendsofhopeland.org, and then you can donate.
Excellent. I like that. And
and it's a 501c3, you can get.
Oh, so it's tax.
Tax deductible. Friendsofhopeland.org.
Excellent. Good. We will make sure that that's out as well. So there's also other people that are maybe a little bit better off in the world that could give even more. Is it more recommended, like, sponsor 5 children if you can, or is it just make the donation, or what other larger things are important, like, that you don't have? Like, if somebody has to walk 10 miles to a hospital, do you have access to vehicles and transportation for people? What about that kind of thing?
Yeah, that in itself, we've been trying to, when we started, for instance, the schools, the children if we have field trips, we have to hire cars to take the children to field trips.
Right.
Because we don't have the cars. We have a couple of vans, but they're not enough. So that is also something that if somebody has to make a big contribution towards, would be a school bus, a school van or something like that can help us. The other thing, we are in constant need for improvement on our facilities, capital projects. We are in need of, right now we are looking at about $40,000 to build a science lab. Then the Rotary clubs here are going to help equip it. dormitories. There's always a need for us to use any generous donation. So as people think, and then sponsorship. We've had people sponsor 10 children. We have had people sponsor 3 children. It's about your, it's about your heart and your capacity to respond to a need. But one kid is good, 2 kids is good. Where your heart is, you may want to do one off. It is okay, and you want to commit, because the beauty with sponsorship, it's an ongoing experience. I was sponsored, and part of my life journey started forming. My world opened when somebody came into my life to start sponsoring me, would write me a letter and encourage me. So that's what we do with our sponsors. We ask them, spare a few minutes and write a letter to this kid. That opens up their world to understand that somebody, separated by thousands of miles or, long distance, they care about me. And that goes deep to raise their esteem.
Yep.
And in the long run, their world opens.
Yeah. And
to stop surviving, to think of thriving.
Yes. And, it would be a wonderful thing to do with another child. I'm thinking of Kellen right now and thinking about, if a parent has the ability to sponsor a child, don't just send money and then don't say anything. Get that child and your family involved and say, this is what we are going to do, and this is who they are, and have them write letters, and you could write letters. You could make it a really great interactive experience for a parent and a child, because you're doing good.
Right.
It's not just on a screen. You're actually helping others. You can physically write things. You could take pictures. You can send stuff. That is a really, really good way to kind of also foster that type of giving incentive in people to learn, this is something I can go out and help and do.
And, it's not just about caring, too. When you're doing those letters, it's an opportunity for us to learn about them as individuals, learn about things in their country. We've asked Abigail what are her favorite things to eat and what does she like to do when she's not in school, what holidays she celebrates, things like that. So it's an opportunity for us to learn about them, and they ask us questions about life in the United States. And so not only for me as an adult to learn, but then, as you mentioned, Jeff, bringing our kids into the mix there. And it's an opportunity for the kids to see that. And then for the kids in Uganda, for them to see that there is this world out there.
Yeah.
Out there.
Absolutely.
And all the opportunities that are there.
And as a person who's constantly working in the field of psychology, there are so many benefits to that connection for a child that I don't think you can really find anywhere else, honestly. Like, a child will look up to their parent, knowing that their parent is a giving and loving person. The parent is taking their child and teaching them something that is not just between right and wrong. It's not a moral compass thing. It's, we're going to do this thing because it's awesome and it's good and people will benefit from it. And we're going to do it together. It's time well spent. There are a myriad of wonderful benefits that come from something like that. So that is a great point. Now, okay, before we start wrapping up here, Valence, you kind of mentioned a science lab and $40,000 American dollars, and Rotary clubs are supporting this. Tell me about the science lab and what is involved in it, and how far along are you towards your goal, and what do we need?
Yeah, actually, what is going to happen is that we are going to start the project. It's right now we're about building the ground for people to come alongside the Rotary Club of King City to support this initiative. But in the meantime, we are going to be building, and then the project will start in the 1st of July 2026. That's when the new Rotary year will happen. But then in the meantime, we want to raise the money and build. So we are still down money-wise. So yeah, any contribution would be much appreciated.
And this is where then the King City Rotary Club comes into play, because if you're listening to this and it resonates with you and you want to help support, I don't care if it's $20 or $1,000, contact us, because tapping into the power of Rotary, what we're going to do, we're going to collect that money, And then there's a process that we can apply for a Rotary International grant where we can then get some matching money.
Excellent.
So not only is it your contribution that can go towards this, and it's a legacy that you can leave, but we're going to leverage that money, and your money is going to be multiplied as well. So that's a really neat thing.
Yeah, can companies do this as well?
Anyone. We'll take anyone's money.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. What a dumb question, Jeff. Come on now. Everybody's money counts when we're doing stuff for good things, you know? So what kind of science lab is this? How big are we talking?
Oh, it's going to be big. It's going to be like 100 feet. I don't know. Yeah, 100 feet by 40.
Excellent.
Jeff, we have a picture when we went there, the 8 Rotarians and 4 interactors, the 12 of us. We have a picture, all of us standing on the area where the building is going to be built. And so I made the comment when we were there of the next time we do this picture, the building will be there. And I don't know how things are going to play out, but I would love to be there for the actual ribbon cutting and the celebration of opening it. What a cool experience that would be.
Oh, man, if you could time that to be somewhere in April 2027, that would be pretty good, right?
Absolutely.
Well, that's amazing. I'm very happy for you because that is just... You're doing, for lack of better terms, you're doing God's work, man. You are. You're just out there doing the thing.
Thank you.
Many people talk about the thing. Many people want to do the thing. You are doing all of the thing, and that is huge.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, it has been wonderful having you here. Is there anything else that you could tell us or you want to touch on that I maybe, I'm just so emotional about all of it right now. What have I missed?
No, absolutely no, not much, but I want to sincerely thank you for the time that you've given us to speak about our work and what we're doing. And I hope somebody out there listening to this podcast will be inspired.
Yeah, I think
Will
they
be
will.
inspired by my story and and what is happening around the world.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. How about you?
Again, thank you.
Of course,
And-
you are welcome.
And clearly, as I've mentioned, Valence has inspired me. Valence and I are the same age. We are both married. We both have 2 kids. But because where we were each respectively born, we were born into different circumstances.
Right.
I personally was raised that if you are blessed, you should bless others if you have the ability to help others. And I just find it interesting, same age, married, kids, but halfway around the world from each other, and we have different opportunities. And all of Valence's story and background have inspired me to help support his vision, because his vision does help make the world a better place.
I agree with that 100%. That is a really good point, Rob. Sometimes we can just get the tunnel vision of our bubble, and having the ability to have that perspective is really super. There's some meta-analysis about that that's really important, and perspective, walk a mile in my shoes, right? 2 different people from 2 different places, very similar life experiences in terms of family and age and those sorts of things. But, I got to say, though, Rob, you do a good job where you're at as well. And just bringing Valence here today, you made sure to make this happen. You reached out a couple of times. And so that is an important skill also. The networking part of, I know something we might be able to do to advance this, to get people to know what's happening. Accessibility, right? Like, that's part of our world down here in South Monterey County also is, the accessibility to things is super important for us. So of course it's important for others. And especially when you are over there with your vision, we want to be right behind you, put our hands right here.
Thank you.
And there's no way you're falling,
Absolutely.
so it's going to be a trust fall, if you will. You don't have to tie it into some drama game, Rob. Come on now. Well, it was wonderful to meet you and speak with you today, Valence. And, listeners, make sure that you go and check out the website and our social media. We're going to make sure that we have all the information you need to get a hold of the King City Rotary Club and Rob, as well as go to the website to donate, to sponsor a child, and maybe go see, touch, and feel. That would be the name of the game. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. I
Yeah.
appreciate you, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.